Hi, I'm Dave Isaacs, and this week in Core Concepts, I want to talk about looking for options. If there is a single idea that's going to do the most for making sure your playing continues to grow, this is it. Because when people get stuck, it means that they have run out of options. They've stopped looking for other ways to express the things that they're trying to do. If you think about the way that you first learned, or most likely first learned, most people do, one of the first things you learned how to do was the basic set of open position chords, D, G, C, A, right? What we sometimes call the cowboy chords. And these are absolutely foundation vocabulary. It's information you're going to use in multiple styles and multiple settings. It comes up again and again and again. And it's important, and it's something that I use every day for sure. But at the same time, have you ever thought about how many ways you know to play a D chord? Do you go for that same triangle shape every single time? Are there situations where another option might be better or more interesting or leads you into a different sort of place? If you have explored that, wonderful. But even if you have, even having built up the vocabulary, doesn't mean that you've established the habit of challenging your musical decisions, of asking yourself if there's something else you could do, if there's some other way you could play that. And sometimes your first intuition is going to be the right thing. Once you've learned how to be a good listener and tune in, then often, given that you've listened to music all your life, and once you've built up enough of a vocabulary that you recognize things to some degree when you hear them, your instinct will be to go to the thing that your ears are telling you is the most familiar, the most common, the most right thing. And that will often be the most right thing, but not always. And so when you get in the habit of challenging your musical decisions, you are going to find other possibilities that just might work better for what you're trying to put across. And even if that means that you go back to where you started at the end, at least you tried to see if there was something else that was better. And virtually everybody gets stuck at some point, feeling like they're repeating themselves, because the nature of how we learn the guitar is in patterns. The nature of music is in patterns. And so it's easy for those patterns to become automatic, whether we're talking about muscle memory or whether we're talking about the things that you hear and, again, going for the most familiar sounds. So when you do consider that there's always something else to do, I'm not saying you have to think about everything you play all the time, but if you find yourself repeating yourself, if you find that you're going for the same things over and over again, and I go through phases of this. I went through a phase of this last summer where I felt like I was tired of everything I knew how to do. And one of the ways that I got out of it was simply to, while I was playing, improvising in particular, to just hesitate for a moment and not play the thing that wanted to come out automatically. And just ask myself, what else could I do here? Or more specifically, to give myself a direction. Don't do the obvious thing, do the next thing that comes to mind, just to see what that did. And sometimes that just means landing on a different finger. Sometimes that means playing something in a different part of the neck than you might have played it in. It doesn't even necessarily mean going for different notes all the time. There are different sonic choices you can make, different phrasing choices, different choices in articulation. It's not just vocabulary. Ultimately, what this means is developing some musical flexibility that even within the specific parameters of a style, where certain things are going to sound right and other things are going to not feel like they belong, even within something limited like that, there's still always something else that you could do. And the more broad musically things become, the more different options you might potentially have. And so if you get in the habit of always looking for something else, or always at least considering that there might be something else, that's going to keep you from getting stuck. It's going to keep your playing fresh. It's going to keep you engaged and motivated and help you at least if you can't avoid falling into those ruts, because we all do, help you find your way out and continue to be inspired by your playing. And that is the thing that keeps you motivated and keeps you growing. Thanks for watching. There's one more in the Core Concepts series, and then I've got some cool things in the works coming down the pike, so please keep your eyes open.